guys, sorry to interrupt your video. Just a quick plea, subscribe to my channel please. If you haven't done it already, subscribe. Tell your friends, subscribe. Thanks. So this is the pair compared, alright? We can see here in the first instance my speed was accelerate hard. The second time it was more gradual. And we can see here on the first one my MPG is hiding behind that one, so the green one. First time round was very low, second time much better. However, here, because I started to cruise early, MPG overtakes the cruisy one. See what I mean? My average therefore initially starts off worse, but then improves because I'm cruising for a longer period of time, but then I'm stopping again, which means my MPG comes down and my fuel economy is dropping, so it's dropping again. Whereas the other one, it's going up all the time, so my MPG goes up, whereas first time it dropped because I'm just cruising in and re-accelerating rather than stopping and going. And as you can see, my average MPG here, what this is doing is there's a slight crossover at the start, but after you actually get going and you just slow and go again, this is what my original MPG was doing. But look how much better my average overall is. Much better. If I get rid of, there we go. There you go. So the figures I've used were taken from my own experience and what my computer says. So my car, when I look at it, it's got a little trip computer and it tells me what's going on. I get 7 MPG after hard acceleration, 15 under gradual acceleration, 30. It's well, it varies wildly. It might say 99 sometimes, but MPG when I'm maintaining 30 miles an hour, and I get infinite when I am taking my foot off the accelerator. The display itself only says 99.9 because there's only 3 digits, but it is infinite. But because it only says that, I'm using 100 MPG in my examples. Right. So if we go back to this thing, there we go. So I've got my hard acceleration, and this is what we're saying. Straight off, worse economy for the acceleration, but the longer cruising time gives me better fuel economy at that point. But from this point onwards, if I'm just cruising and slowing and cruising and not actually going down to zero, my fuel economy goes up here. That's my average MPG. It just gets better and better and better. Now these are just figures that I just plugged into Excel, you know. I'm just saying what fuel economy I get when I'm doing what phase of driving, and it just drew the graph for me. So I mean, it's not even rocket science, it's just what Excel chucks out at you. But basically, if you don't stop, then you're not going to plummet your MPG. If you just keep going, it keeps working for you. But there is a food for thought here. Of course, if you accelerate hard in lower gears to get up to speed, you want to miss out and then miss gears. So for instance, second to fourth, you will maximize the amount of time that you are cruising in the most fuel economical phase. So remember, acceleration was horrendous, but cruising, just maintaining a speed, was much better. So the sooner we get to cruising, the better. But that's only if you're not stopping again, because if you're going to burn a load of fuel, here we go, this is our economy. If you accelerate hard, the economy goes down, fine. But what we've got here, A and B were what we had before, but C is now a combination of the two. So if I accelerate hard, I get to a cruising phase early, right, which means I'm maintaining a nice fuel economy. And this is what my blue line is. So it's initially worse, but then it overtakes because I'm cruising for a long time. But rather than stopping, what I'm doing here is I'm doing the whole slow it down gradually. So I'm increasing the amount of time when I'm not pushing the accelerator, which is called fuel cutoff. And so here it gets even better. By all means, have a look at these graphs yourself. But basically, In this one, I accelerate hard and then I just cruise for a long period of time, and then I gradually come off the accelerator and just cruise over a long time, and all the time I'm not pushing the accelerator, my fuel economy goes up. Simple as that. All right. So notice how the fuel economy improves when we don't press the accelerator. Modern cars allow momentum to carry us forward, so if you don't push the accelerator, the car doesn't use any fuel at all. It's called fuel cutoff, as you can see here. Right? This is a theory question. So simply by getting off the accelerator earlier and gliding into a junction rather than keeping your speed up and then braking at the last minute can save a huge amount of fuel. I mean, why use fuel when you don't need to? Hey? I mean, why? Theory test question comes up talking about braking. Harsh braking can lead to higher fuel consumption, right? But I just want to clarify this. Obviously, your foot is not on the accelerator when braking, and so you're not using any fuel, because you only use fuel when you push the accelerator, right? So this is very fuel efficient. However, if you're needing to use the brake harshly, then you have brought too much speed into the junction. This means you have been on your accelerator for too long and therefore burning fuel when you don't really need to. You could have been using fuel cutoff, so when you see the junction up ahead, if you just take your foot off the accelerator, you'll just cruise in. So you're extending the amount of period when you're not using the accelerator, and you're just letting the car naturally slow down. This is way more fuel efficient. So whilst the question is saying harsh braking leads to more fuel consumption, you don't burn fuel by braking, but it means that if you're coming in at speed, you normally have to brake down to stop and then re-accelerate again, so that subsequently burns more fuel. Speed! I love it, I love it, I love it. Yeah, only joking. According to these guys, so I had fueleconomy.gov that I found, and I found Auto Express. Obviously, they're driving two completely different vehicles here. This is the fuel economy that they were getting at these speeds. And you can tell that at 60 rather than 70 miles an hour, you're getting about 20% better fuel economy. But you get about 30% more of your fuel economy if you drive at 50 over 70. So I mean, you've got what, 26, so 10% would be 2.6, 5.2, 7.88. So add that onto that. Yeah, about 30%. Got 30% more fuel economy out of that than you got out of that. See what I mean? So obviously this is American, and this was Auto Express in England, so we're using an Astra here, which is far more economical than whatever the hell they were driving. But it's the principle that I'm trying to get across, okay? So driving slower can improve your fuel economy. Here we go. So you are most economical. What the graph shows you is you're most economical around about the 30 and 50 miles per hour mark, that sort of area. Wind resistance dramatically increases above 50 miles an hour, for instance, so it takes more energy to push through it. Your revs, when you get starting to get up to motorways type speeds, your revs start to go above 2000 RPM in a diesel and 2500 in a petrol, which obviously increases your fuel consumption because it's spinning faster. All right, we said earlier on that the optimum place is try and do a gear change between or before 2000. Well, if you start to go the higher speeds, you're going above that, so therefore you're not in the optimum. In everyday driving around town, your best bet is to gently accelerate. Notice this is around town, right? So gently accelerate, gear changes early to keep the revs low, maybe miss out a gear, so 1, 2, 4. Look further ahead. Look at what the traffic's doing. Look at the traffic lights. Change when you turn up. So anticipate and plan for when to turn up so that you don't have to stop. Smooth driving can reduce the fuel consumption by 15% and reduce wear and tear on your car. Notice theory test questions. 15, 30%. I want this sort of being dropped into your brain, all right? Plan when to go so that there is less traffic. Again, theory questions. Allow plenty of time for the trip. I mean, you could just leave 5 minutes or more earlier for a stress-free, relaxed drive, you know? Don't wait until you absolutely have to get there nailed on, because if there's one traffic light in the way or a bit of road works or the police are blocking a road, you're going to get really stressed. You're then going to drive faster, more aggressively, which burns more fuel. Just go early, get there early. You go and get a cup of coffee, can't you, whilst you're waiting? But it's better to go early, sort yourself out at the other end than rush to get there. Plan your route to avoid congested areas. When I'm going to my student's house, for instance, I'm thinking what my route is, and I'm thinking where all the traffic jams typically are, and I will, for instance, rather than just go up to there, I might go out here, around here, and come back into the roundabout, because I gain priority over the people that were doing that. So if it was slightly longer but quicker, I'll actually change my route. Right? Have an alternative route as a backup in case there are delays, as if you were going to go somewhere. Right? So check your map beforehand, just have a rough idea. And take into account the weather and the delays it will cause, so rain, snow, fog, etc. All of these things you've got to cater for and leave accordingly early.